trying to keep this as simple as possible. I want us to look at it. Culture has three moving parts. They have to get to be a culture of greatness, they have to be aligned and in harmony. Of course, we have the people. We have the structure, and we have the process. When I think of culture, it's those three things. Let's take the structure. And the structure really is just like your organization. And great teams, great programs have a very strong structure. Think about yours right now. Now, what does yours consist of? And 5 requirements that I think are absolutely critical are these 5 things. Some type of values, whether you call them core values, because the values help players understand who they are and how they're supposed to do things. There's got to be a vision, so everyone knows what that team will become. The purpose. Why we are doing this. Standards. Define what right looks like. And your outcomes or your goals as far as what we will achieve. Okay, if you think about your program right now, there probably isn't anything up there that you're not doing. You're probably thinking about, I don't know how much you put it in writing, but pretty much I think it's pretty common sense. I want young coaches to understand now, this isn't going to happen by chance. So even like tonight, if you jot this down, or if you want these slides and you get the slides, take a look at this and get your program and just say, okay, fine. The values, okay, what's my program really build on? Is your team built on compelling values, something that are just really important? It's bringing your players together. Is your team's vision, purpose, standards, and goals, are they easy to understand? Do your players really understand it? That statement is one of the most important ones of the evening that I just put up there. It's transforming words into actions. All those things that you probably agreed with me upon, now how are you doing that? How are those actually becoming actions for your players? Now let me jump to process. We're going to get into more specifics, and I'm actually going to have you do some activities that I have players do when we're doing some of these things so you can actually experience it. The process is what's going to transform the words into the actions. We have to, every sport's different, so I'm not going to get into the tactics, the techniques, the X's and O's, none of that. You're the subject matter experts there. But all those things that you're doing in your process, the process, I believe, needs to produce 5 essential qualities. And what you're going to be really glad to see, that a lot of the things that you just told me about the All Blacks, or even your organizations, these are the things that you will say, yes, that is right. Trust. Your process, there has to be trust that comes within your organization, between your players. They have to believe. They truly have to believe. There's got to be mental toughness. There's got to be accountability, both self-accountability and peer accountability. And there needs to be a sense of family, community, whatever word you want to use. when you align the structure, process, and people, those three moving parts, when they get aligned with your desired outcomes, that's going to be the key. And what's a challenge is getting everyone to pull the rope in the same direction. A lot of times it's your players, even trying to get them aligned. As a coach, I truly believe that many times it was not so much your opponent that would beat you, it's the types of friction you have internally or any type of dysfunction you have internally, that holds you back more than an opponent. I couldn't control anything about an opponent. What my staff and I felt was absolutely critical is that we had our team chemistry at the highest level possible. And that has to be, we have practice plans or training plans every day. Part of our training plan was building teamwork and how we were going to build it for that day, building team chemistry. A lot of times, people put drills. We had our drills. But just as important as the drills, what is this right here? Team chemistry and getting people to work together unselfishly. The people, great people make a great culture. I think that the people piece of it, we've really talked quite a bit about, even just with the All Blacks. I think we all understand the importance of that. And I love this. What is the most important thing in the people, or in the world? It is people, it is people, it is people. It is the people that make the structure and the process work. Great people have common traits. Again, this to me is one of the most important things this evening, is that when you think about a great team, a great person, these 5 things I have found. I started out actually with like 50 different things at one point in my career. I had all these 25. Then really in the last 2.5 years since I retired from West Point, I finally said, okay, fine. I'm going to get this down to a number that I truly, from the deepest part of me, believe that is that difference maker in greatness. First one is the best of the best are trustworthy. The best of the best, now besides trustworthy, they know what they want. They know what they want, and they pursue it with purpose, passion, and dedication. Now, the next one, the third one is you've got to have tremendous belief. You've got to believe in yourself and your teammates. Then, on top of that, we've got to get that competitive edge. We've got to make sure we have it. So, the best of the best demonstrate mental toughness and they're focused. And number 5, and the one that puts this all together, they make everyone around them better. See, as I coached a team, as I built a leader team, a department, whatever it may be, these were the things that I was looking for. Because I knew that if I had this, these were the type of players that I needed. Yes, they had to be talented. They had to have a level of talent. But I got to know myself well enough that finally I could put it in words. I knew this 20 years ago, but I never really was able at that point in my life to simplify it. A team like this is what I needed. What you need, I'm not sure. You decide. But this is the team, the best teams, the best players were talented and they had these qualities. Okay. something I want you to think about right now. And when you do this, I want you to look at it two ways. Number one, take it as a self-assessment. But in the back of your mind, I want you to think about, what if you did this with each of your players? Okay? Because this self-assessment is one that I created that reinforces what I consider are the principles of greatness. Let me emphasize again, I'm not saying these are the principles of greatness. These are the principles of greatness that worked for me. Great coaches, you determine what your principles are and then find ways to make sure that in your process, everything that you're teaching, everything that you're doing in your drills is reinforcing those. And then on top of it, find an assessment tool that will help you connect with your athletes so you can help them develop it. So here we go. On this self-reflection, from 1 to 5. They're simple statements. I do what I say I will do. I've included, if you don't want a whole number, you can go 4.5, 3.5. I just want to say, on that one, before you just say, oh yeah, I do that, and give yourself a 5, I struggled with that one, and not because it was an integrity issue. Throughout my career, I had trouble saying no. And so someone would say, okay, fine, Ralph, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you send me this? I wouldn't say, I should have been saying, yes, I will. I can have it to you in 48 hours or whatever. I should have given them a time frame. I'd say yes. And then all of a sudden, just think about it. If you were waiting from you contacted me, this is really important to you, and then you don't get it. You don't get it within 24 hours. What are you going to think? Did he forget? Am I just not that important? So be careful. I mean, really, I think it's a lesson that it's not like you're lying or you don't want to help someone. You get so busy and you have so much on your plate between the jobs that you're doing and everything else. If you tell one of your players you're going to do something, though, make sure that you do it in a timely manner, or tell them that, yes, I will, but it's going to take me a certain period of time. Number 2, I pursue my goals with purpose, passion, and dedication. Number 3, I strongly believe in myself. I strongly believe in my fellow team members. I stay committed despite setbacks and disappointments. I try and make everyone around me better. I have an optimistic and positive attitude. Okay, you just did it for yourself, but consider this as something you might want to use with your players. Get an idea. And this is what I would say to even take one step further. It opens the door for you to have a face-to-face meeting with them, because take their numbers compared to your numbers. The challenge you sometimes have with players is because you're controlling their playing time. Their numbers may be really skewed a little bit. Sometimes, though, what I found with players, their numbers were much higher than mine, and it was a good way for me to sit down and understand, wow, they're rating themselves really high in these categories. I had them lower. Then I needed to sit down and talk with them so that I could give them my perception and then give them specific behaviors that I have seen during training, why I gave them that number. But then I needed to also give them the types of behaviors that would take that number from a 3 up to a 4, or from a 4 up to a 5. These are nothing but numbers. What we're trying to do is what? We're trying to get a change in behavior, and we're trying to... You can tell a player all you want, but if you don't know what they're thinking and what their perception is, you may not get that far with it. The team reflection, the words are a little bit different. It goes, number 1 is poor to 5 is outstanding. I'm just going to go through all these real quick so you can see this is what a player would tell you about their whole team. If you're in a team sport, this can really help you. And at the same time, you do it with your team. The level of trust between team members, what you think. And then compare your answers. Look at your team members. Any questions on the statements and just a type of how to have a self-assessment? And change the questions or the statements to whatever is the most important thing, what your principles of greatness are. Now we're getting into the how. How is the best way to make this connection? Here's what I'd like us to work on. If you go back and you remember the structure, remember I mentioned that you need to have a strong structure. There were 3 pieces. You had the structure, where you had people, structure, and then the process. Okay, now I'm back to where the structure is, core values. Because now I want us to have an actual exercise of how you can do this with your team. Okay. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'm gonna divide you in half. This is gonna, just imagine now that you're one team. But this is an exercise you're gonna do individually initially. This is gonna be one team, okay? What I'd like you to do is spread out. I mean, you can go in another. Once you get this, you can follow the directions, and let me everyone get one, and then hold on just for 1 second. This has been done with teams at all levels, all the way up to an Olympic team that won a gold medal. And theirs was not as elementary as this. It was done by Mike Krzyzewski, who was a friend of mine, head basketball coach at Duke. I modeled this a little bit. After that, I've changed it through the years. But this is what I want you to do. You look at it as an individual. And so you get something more to eat. Sit in the other room. Go wherever you want. You're going to come up where you're going to, first thing you can read, you're going to circle the words that you think are very important. But then what you're going to do as an individual is you're going to keep narrowing that list down. These are team values that you believe are going to help your team, the 4 of you, be great, okay? This whole business of greatness. And then when we're done, you're going to come back, and then we're going to have 2 teams, and we're going to go through the exercise a little bit more, okay? I'll give you about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And the only reason I'm having you sit in different chairs, no matter how many times I do it, it doesn't make any difference. If I'm working with truly a team, people will they don't want their answers to be different than their team members. So next thing you know, they're kind of looking at someone else's to make sure that they're doing it right. We don't need to do that tonight.